The Democrats have three moves they can make, and they will play to advantage during the Trump administration. Do you know what they are? I'm Chris Cuomo. Welcome to the Chris Cuomo Project. Now, you got to look at where the Democrats are and where they want to be. All right. And I see three obvious moves for them that we can break down in very simple buckets of who, what, and how. Okay. Now, let's look at it as a function of what isn't working. Okay. Now, you saw that in a number of the nomination hearings for Trump's cabinet. Okay. Moralizing and moral high ground is not going to get the Democrats where they want to be. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you can't make judgments about these people on the basis of how they live their lives. I'm just saying it's not how the rest of the country is looking at people in positions of leadership right now. And I get it. I get it that the Republicans used to be the party of character counts. No more. Now it is more about conflict counts. And what are you fighting about? And what are you outraged about? And why? And the Democrats trying to say, well, you're not worthy because I think it as a person, or your integrity, or your sex life, or you're this. Being a scold on morality is not going to get Democrats where they want to be. So what will? Who, what, and how? Let's start with who. I had a line that I was using that people on the left really got mad at me about, and it made me think about it. So now I'll repeat it. Less woke, less about who's woke, more about who's broke. Less about who's woke, more about who's woke. Why did I say that? A few reasons. One, I am not anti-woke, and yes, I know what it means. And I think it was born of a need for recognition of macro issues, of systemic injustice that existed in this country and still do exist. And I think it's a good thing to be aware of. I think it's a productive thing to be aware of. And I think it's something that we should be trying to correct. Okay? How? Well, that becomes the big question. You know, the idea of reparations and these things, I think, are exaggerated rationales for a remedy that we should be seeking. Not through reparations, but through how do you make our systems more just? How is there more fairness under law? How is opportunity more evenly spread among those who merit opportunity? I think that these are good considerations, and I think our collective history and its shortcomings and inadequacies and what it reveals about us isn't hating on America. It's showing that you're interested in America getting better, being greater. Okay. So I don't have any problem with being woke. It's about how it's applied. And clearly there's been an over-application of it on the left. How? Because that's what the country thinks. That's why Donald Trump got reelected, even though there's so many reasons to dislike him. That's how much more they're worried about these cultural issues and exaggerations than even his shortcomings. There should be a message in that for Democrats. So when I say focus more on who's broke and less on who's woke, what I'm saying is to tap into the mainstream. You can do that and still protect the rights of minorities in the society. You can do those two things. We have done it consistently throughout. And sure, there's a lot more left to do, but the idea that we've made no progress is demonstrably false. So who is the who? I'll tell you a group that is ignored. And I know this because I'm in it. And I've looked at this through the lens of advertising, and politics and advertising have a lot to do with each other, especially these days. Always have, but certainly these days, even more with social media kind of being a real proxy for a lens on society. Because social media is not really a great echo of mainstream America, but it is what we're focused on. So for better or worse, everything's about the young, the new, okay? They vote, and they vote in increasing numbers, which is great. Participation is great any way you look at it. And I was a little surprised, even though I should have seen it coming, that participation would be down in this election. And not just because it was all so depressing. Every election is depressing. But it was that we didn't have a lot of the same mechanisms in place that we did during the pandemic, for better or worse. And you wound up having less turnout as a result because it wasn't as easy as it was during the pandemic to vote. And I do believe that there's something insidious and sinister behind people wanting less ease in voting. Okay, even when it comes to voter ID, the idea that voter ID is going to have more people vote is illogical. I'm not saying that it's a bad idea, but I understand why people think it's a bad idea. Okay, I really think it's about how it's applied and how you get the people who don't have ID now to get it, and how quickly you can enfranchise people who don't have them based on why they don't have them. And it's not that the reason they don't have them is because they're all illegal aliens. That's not why. But you can't just focus on the young. The 50 plus age group, Gen X, okay, the middle cut of it, is a huge untapped resource in our politics. This is the group of people with the most disposable income. This is the group of people making the most kind of command decisions in our society right now. These are the most vibrant people in our society right now. Why do I say most vibrant? Because I certainly don't feel vibrant. Dying on the vine here, aging athlete. Well, here's why. I have disposable income. I have savings. I am in a group of people who believe that they are going to have more money in their pocket going forward than they've had in the past. I am someone who buys things. I am someone with kids that I have to make decisions for. I am someone who is a homeowner. I am someone who's a business owner. I am someone with employees. I am a decision maker. And Democrats should be focusing on this group of people and what makes sense to them. That should be their lens, not some group of, people desperate for a cause on a college campus. Leave those people to AOC. They'll get her a big following online. Not much else. Okay? Not much else. The Democratic Party has been focused too much on pleasing people who matter too little in this society. And look, it'd be great. They vote in a big amount, and they're younger people. They'll make their witness. They'll get their mandate, and they'll deserve the preference. But right now, it's not there. And there's a group being ignored that Democrats should be looking at. That's the WHO. Now, within the WHO, it's not just age. It's about socioeconomic type. You have to meet people where they are more. And it's not just billionaires and the broke, okay? There's a whole cut inside of that Democrats should be looking at. If you think about Democratic rhetoric in the last couple of cycles, it's always the broke, and go after the billionaires, fair share, they don't do it, system's rigged for them, and that. The main consideration of people who are thinking that there's a two-tiered system are right in that middle cut that you're ignoring. Those are the people who have real frustrations with the system, okay? And not just because they're at the bottom of the socioeconomic level, but because there's such difficulty in their lives of maintaining where they are. And it seems that there's so much asked of them for people who they believe are not doing what they're doing for themselves. And Democrats have dismissed them as arrogant, as racist, as not caring about others, being selfish. And it has alienated them. And it has created a constituency that shakes their heads and says, where are the Democrats getting this stuff? And not just on economics, but on culture issues. Now, look, I often think that culture issues are a distraction from dealing with the harder things. I mean, what's easier to talk about? The debt and what to do about our national debt, or trans, But the problem with it is it's not that the trans community doesn't deserve attention and protection specifically. They do. They get attacked at alarming rates, especially with all this toxic talk about them. But the idea that, where to plant your flag is on at what age someone can decide to have their genitals chopped off, that doesn't make sense for the middle of the country, no matter which way you bend. That's fringe. And we're dominated by the fringes right now. And the Democrats need to start focusing on the fat part in the middle. not the fringe considerations, not countering the right fringe and not boosting the left fringe. Think about the people in the middle. Think about the 50 plus people. Think about the people who have the highest number of responsibilities and the financial wherewithal and the makers and the movers and the decision makers. Think about them. Think about what matters to them and look at their economics. Look at it through their lens. Don't just see people who are making, whether it's $150,000 or $550,000 as people who should be wanting to give it away to others. Don't look at them as only that. Look at them in terms of what you can do for those people as well. What will make their life more secure? What will help them manifest their dreams? Too many people in this country right now are only managing their existence in terms of concerns about downside. Loss of 401k, loss of savings, loss of lifestyle, loss of freedoms. Start looking at that group of people, age and stage, as a consideration of whom you want to help, not just how you see them as someone who they should be giving to others and yielding in terms of how they feel about things and what matters to them to other groups. That's the who, okay? Support for the Chris Cuomo Project comes from AG1. I dig it. I'm one and done. I use it every day. When I travel, I take it with me. I put it in warm water. It's great to drink, tastes fine. And I get my day started with all of the nutritional supplement needs met. And that is the end of the story for me. I no longer, except for my long COVID treatment, have all these different bottles and different supplements that I have to take at different times and in different combinations. All that work is done for me by AG1, okay? And that's why I use them. That's why I like being partners with them, and I would like to do more. It's never too late to create a new healthy habit, okay? Try AG1 for yourself. It's something I've actually been able to stay consistent with, and that's why I've been partnering with AG1 for so long. AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/CCP and get that offer. Drinkag1.com/CCP. Start your year on a healthier note. The Chris Cuomo Project is brought to you by the audio marketing gurus at RadioActive Media. Congratulations. You've survived 2024. Now, the question is, how are you as a business owner or CMO, how are you going to ensure that your business continues to survive, but even more so, that it thrives? How about using something that's reliable, that's stable, especially for your marketing efforts, that will allow you to tap into the power of podcast and radio? Clearly, I believe in that reach, which is why I'm in that space. But let me give you a fact. In the United States, audio reaches more than social media and digital combined. So, enter RadioActive Media. They know how to launch, optimize, and scale performance by building compelling audio campaigns, and the key is they work. Why? They have a personal approach, they have knowledge, they have experience, they have a track record. Go to radioactivemedia.com or text Chris to 511-511. Text Chris to 511-511 today. Message and data rates, of course, they apply. Now, in terms of the what, there must be a move away from fringe thinking and niche issues that may work on social media, but nowhere else. But I'll get back to social media. Social media is a big part of my how. But in terms of the what, forget liberal, forget progressive as a far left indicator that now seems to resonate as or land as radical, and get back to what my father always called, and this was a guy who was a real old school Democrat, right? And who was his constituency? Who was his who? Workers, unions. People doing well in unions, union jobs, building their families, building their base, but within one bad medical event and maybe 6 months out from a job of being in financial dire straits. So they didn't need the government to help them raise their kids financially, or certainly in terms of what's right and wrong. But financially, they can only give so much, and it really should have been on their own terms in terms of charity and not in terms of tax structure and government programs that are trying to help everybody else at their expense. That was his constituency. And he had a phrase that I think would be really applicable today: progressive pragmatism. Now, I know that the progressive part is going to get some stink on it because progressive now resonates, or again, lands as radical and lefty. But the idea of pragmatism is what? You have a set of principles, right? God forbid anybody talk about principles these days, right? And it's case by case. What works in this case based on our set of principles? What do we do now? What do we do in California based on our principles? What does that mean in that situation? And sometimes it's going to bring you into buckets of ideas that play to one side or the other, but it's about how do you get to a better place? That is the preoccupation. How do you get to a better place? Not how do you make advantage, not how do you prove that you're smarter, not how do you prove that they suck or that they're to blame. How do you get it to a better place? That's pragmatism. There is none of that in our politics right now. For instance, the what with Democrats must mean running to embrace comprehensive immigration reform. That is the odds-on favorite for Trump's first big legislative move while he has the numbers. Democrats should run toward them, and that bill is going to be whatever the Republicans want it to be, plus what the Democrats can get in there. Now, what's going to be the big sticking point? Well, listen, the experts tell me something that I can't believe is true, that Democrats' big pushback is going to be amnesty. I can't believe that. I can't believe that Democrats can still believe that this country looks at the lens of our immigration system and that their priority is amnesty for people who are in the country illegally. I can't believe that. The Dreamers? Absolutely. All day long. It is literally sinful. It is absolutely shameful that the Dreamers have been hanging in limbo and still are not availed of all of the opportunities and accessing all of the systems and mechanisms in this society simply because of their birth situation. Born here, but because of their family situation, or when they were brought in here as kids. I mean, it is shameful. Everybody agrees on the Dreamers. Even Trump, when he was running in 2015 with his build the wall. Not the Dreamers. I'll take care of the Dreamers. Never happened. Shameful. Shameful. But now the Democrats have an opportunity. They should be part of comprehensive immigration. And here's why. That issue helped beat you. You screwed up that issue on Biden's watch. You can now take it off the table as things that show that you are worse. Be part of the solution. Be pragmatic about it. Forget about amnesty. Here's why. There's no way they're going to round up everyone who's here illegally in this country. Logistically, legally, ethically. It's a nightmare. It can't happen. So don't get stuck on amnesty. Just get into what the realities are going to be of the how. And they're not going to be able to round up everybody. They're going to have to make choices. And there's obviously going to be a big group of people who are in this country doing the right thing, doing the right way, that are going to get treated differently than people who are criminals, who are getting in trouble when they're here, who are doing other things that are seen as less desirable. And you're going to have to give. But the idea that you can lose on immigration by giving the Republicans what they want, I don't think exists in our majority population anymore. I think if you want the majority of this country with you, you need to reform immigration and chain migration or family reunification and how it's done and getting rid of catch and release. The idea that people entering this country illegally are not the same as other criminals. They're never going to just be thrown in jail. There are always going to have to be accommodations, but you should be on the side of fixing it. Inaction is no longer a substitute for proper action or right action as Democrats see it. You got to be part of the solution because it's going to happen anyway. And if it's on amnesty, shame on the Democrats. That is a loser with the American people. And not just right now, for a while. So that's a huge part of the what is running toward working on comprehensive immigration reform, not just lip service. Democrats, whatever plan comes out is going to be better than where we are right now. And you can talk about what message it sends about America and this and that. I'm telling you, the right position for Democrats going forward, if they want to get to a better place, is in being part of that solution and not being seen as an obstacle to it. Progressive pragmatism. How do we get to a better place, problem by problem? Okay? Support from the Chris Cuomo Project comes from Oracle. Even if you think it's a bit overhyped, AI is a real thing, and it's going to be in more and more places and having more and more of an impact. Self-driving cars, molecular medicine, getting answers on the internet, business efficiency. It's going to be the new modality. And if it's not in your industry yet, it's coming and fast. AI needs a lot of speed, needs a lot of computing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? Upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI. OCI is a blazing fast and secure platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, plus all your AI and machine learning workloads. OCI costs 50% less for compute and 80% less for networking. So you're going to save money. Thousands of businesses have already upgraded to OCI, including Vodafone, Thomson Reuters, and Suno AI. Right now, Oracle is offering to cut your current cloud bill in half if you move to OCI. For new U.S. customers with minimum financial commitment, you can get a big savings. Now, this offer is going to end March 31st, so get in while you can. See if your company qualifies for this special offer. Just go to oracle.com/CCP. Oracle.com/CCP. Support for the Chris Cuomo Project comes from Beam. I have to be honest. I don't sleep well. I don't go to sleep quickly. I am a very light sleeper, and it has effects. I don't recover. I don't grow. I don't lose weight the way I want to because I am not sleeping. That's why I'm so excited to talk about Beam's Dream Powder. This is a science-backed, healthy hot cocoa for sleep. You had me at hot cocoa, right? But this is better. It totally tastes great. It's guilt-free. And it has different flavors, by the way. Sea salt caramel, brownie batter, vanilla chai, and the Beam Dream Powder original flavor, cinnamon cocoa. Very tasty. You know what the problem is with sleep aids, right? Next day, you're like, duh. But Dream contains an all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. That combination works to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, you can get up to 40% off. I wish I knew that the first time I bought it. For a limited time, go to shopbeam.com/Cuomo. All right, make sure you use my code Cuomo at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Cuomo. Use the code Cuomo, and you'll get 40% off. Now, the how. Democrats need to find a way to weave together the surreal and the real. The surreal, the exaggerated, bizarro universe is social media. Democrats are losing on social media. You know, an interesting aspect of our media culture is the right complaining about censorship, which is a concern. It's certainly a concern for me, while at the same time dominating the places that they say are being censored. Think about it. They're not talking about News Nation censoring. They're talking about the social media platforms. Which voices are the loudest and have the biggest following on social media? It's all righties. And the farther right you go, the more disproportionate their traction is. Think about it. Just go look at the numbers. These guys who, Benny Johnson or Tim Pool, you don't really know who these guys are. I mean, if you're active in the digital space, you may, but they have huge footprints on here. You've never heard of them in any major outlet. They've never written anything significant. They've never held any positions that are significant. But is there censorship? Yeah. But are people on the right victims? No. They're opportunists and they're doing well on social media. And it's an interesting juxtaposition where they cry about the mainstream media all the time. It's just, all it is a value proposition for them. It's a sell, it's a pitch to give them more attention. And they dominate social media in part because of their victim status. It's very interesting. And Democrats have to get with that and start populating social media with their own people and messaging with their own people. I mean, look, Brian Tyler Cohen, who I love having on, okay? He's got a big following in digital media. Big, especially for a lefty who has never worked in politics or government. None, no pedigree. He's just a regular guy, smart guy, comes from like entertainment world and stuff. And now, and I'm not saying that that there should be any kind of gauntlet where, you must have worked in politics. I think it's an advantage. I think it adds heft to you. I think the fact that you've never been part of watching a law get made or even covered it that way as a journalist and that you've never worked in a campaign, I think there's a sophistication that comes with that makes you have more gravitas than guys who have no idea because they've never been in there. They've never been around a dynamic when there isn't a camera on it, when it's not on the record. But he's doing well. Why? Because those bona fides only exist in the big media or whatever you want to call it. I don't like legacy media. I don't like mainstream media. I don't believe that. I think the mainstream is more present on digital media than it is on all of the well-known outlets. I think these individual brands, these people, are taking advantage of digital media to the disadvantage of Democrats. Where is your Megyn Kelly? Where is your attractive scold who is garnering an audience with a significant chunk of non-political insiders? Where are they? Where's your Joe Rogan? Where is your zeitgeisty lefty? You got Brian Tyler Cohen, you got the Pod Saves America guys, you got, there's a number of guys there on the left, but they don't resonate the way the guys on the right do. Why? You got to figure that out as Democrats. Because you have to balance them out. Now, did social media decide the election? No, it was symptomatic of a populist movement, right? I mean, look, Joe Rogan screams this as an example. And I don't agree with the criticism of Rogan that he's like this toxic righty dope or any of that. You're missing the value of just being regular. At the end of the day, Joe Rogan plays as a regular guy. He's a curious conversationalist who kind of comes at everything. He used to be, what was his mind? Back in the day, he was the third eye. He was open to everything. Everything's a possibility. Let's talk about everything. I don't have any problem with that. Do I have criticisms for some of the things that he does with his platform and positions that he takes? Yeah, because now he's relevant in a way where he is due criticism. But he's not a bad person. He's not about bad things, as far as I can tell. I'm just talking about his public impact. Where's your Joe Rogan? Why don't you have one? I mean, you have a registration advantage. You win the popular vote almost every time. Why don't you have more of a mass following? Where is your culture on social media? You need to take social media a lot more seriously. And you have to learn what resonates with your people on there, and you got to get them on there. There is such a thing as Black Twitter, but African-American people are not as well represented on social media as they should be. It's changing. but you got to be part of that change. And you have to deal with this melding of the surreal and the real. You can't just say these people are idiots. You know, like what you guys did with the drones and the UAPs. Do you know how many lefties, do you know how many righties came to me and said, why are you covering the information about UAPs? 0. Do you know how many lefties? Like 20 between the media and people in elected office. Maybe more. Why? Arrogance. You got to look at Rachel Maddow on a model that you need to expand upon. Rachel Maddow, a very smart lady, very good at giving grist for the mill to food for thought for Democratic minds. No question. But she's also the lefty that's easy to dislike. Not because she's a lesbian, or at least not for me, but because she's arrogant and she talks down to people. And she kind of makes you feel like if you don't agree with her, you're stupid. That's the kind of lefty that has to, you have to change the approach. That is not going to get you where you want to be. And you need lefties who check different boxes. They can't all be LGBTQ plus minority, DEI focused people. It's okay for you to have white people who are part of your standard. What are you talking about? Look at all the elected officials. I'm talking about your vibe. I'm not talking about your head count. I get that you have a lot of white people in the Democratic Party. Of course. And I'm not playing color for color's sake, but you are. And I think you got to end that. I think it's got to be merit first, type second. And I think that's very doable for you. It's okay for somebody to be white. It's okay to have a white male. You may not want to recognize it, but there is a growing concern among young men about their future and how they're viewed and how they're valued. You know, this movement of females knowing their worth. There are a lot of white men. I noticed it even in our comedy. First, it was just Chris Rock, but now I see it more and more. This idea of men are only loved if they provide something. That only women and dogs are loved unconditionally. And men, it's what do you do for me? Now, you may shake your head at that or roll your eyes or criticize it or whatever, cancel it, but it's real and it's growing. And you are seen as the enemy of these people. You are seen as people who hate them, who want white males to be reduced. Now, you may, again, I've heard you say it. It's been said a lot. Oh, poor you, in charge of everything forever, and now they're taking it for you to make it fair for everybody else. Okay, I get it, and I'm okay with it, but a lot aren't. A lot, just that fundamental proposition that you are the problem is not a way to create allies, especially when they're in the majority. Think about it. You need allies. The idea of alienating people who you need to make change. Look, Me Too to me is, or was, when it started, a needed dynamic of change of how our workplaces function and how our culture regards different dynamics of behavior. But the idea that you wouldn't have men involved in it when they're the ones that you want to change almost in every case was odd to me. And it wound up being more about outrage than change. And I think that that's been a shortcoming of it for all the bold-faced names that have been taken down. And yeah, I know my brother is among them. What institutions have really changed? Because I'll tell you what people say when they're not on camera about who they won't hire anymore, what they're afraid of, how they insulate themselves, their concerns about DEI. And now you see DEI being stripped out of places because everything's pendular with us, right? God forbid you meet in the middle. God forbid you be pragmatic about it. That's a space for Democrats. And social media is a big place for doing that. And for doing more than just saying, God, you people are stupid. God, you're disgusting. God, you're less than. You bigots, you racists, you're prejudiced. because we don't agree and because you seem to have problems. And you look, remember the joke? Somebody says, I'm black and I'm proud. Good for them. Good for them. It's good. So it's a good sense of identity, self-worth. I'm white and I'm proud. If somebody says, I'm white and I'm proud, what do you think about them? They're racist. Hey, come on, be honest. Why? Because there is an empowerment principle for a minority. They are seen as a victim class. And to assert their self-worth as a group that has been marginalized is seen as empowering. That in a system that has viewed them as less than, they reject that. And they believe they are worthy. And that's why when someone says, I'm black and I'm proud, that's an empowerment principle. Whereas when you come from the position of empowered and you say you're white, it seems as though, and proud, it seems as though you are trying to continue an oppression. Right, wrong, good, bad. Am I wrong about that's how it is? Now, as a result, you have what I call and others call white fright. People who believe that the left, seeing them as white people, sees them as a problem. And people who have to yield ground and yield wealth and yield access. And that is a big part of what motivated Trump's success. So you're admitting they're all bigots. No, I am not admitting that. Do you really believe that if a white couple believes that their kid has less chance of getting into the colleges that they went to, let's say as an example, that means that they're racist? Now, let's say that they're wrong and that the reason that they can't get in is not because that they're giving all the spaces to black kids or minorities, but because it's just gotten more competitive. That could be the answer. But would they be wrong in feeling that it's something else, given the rhetoric? See, the idea that somebody is wrong, that they don't get it, doesn't change how they feel necessarily. And you have to be in the feelings business, not just the fact business. Because in politics, if you tell somebody they're wrong to feel how they feel, you lose. You just saw that in this election. Yeah, but they're wrong. It's not that way. The Biden economy is not that bad. He didn't really do this. But that's how they feel. And you either have to give them a reason to feel differently or you're going to lose. And I'm telling you, there is a major movement in this country that white people feel they're being targeted by the left. And you can roll your eyes and say, tough titty, and a lot of you are white doing that. Most of you are white doing that. That's kind of the irony. One of the ironies here is that it's not black people. Sure, you have some on the left who are black people who are blaming white people, say reparations is the way or whatever it is. And I've always been open to coverage of that, and I think it's an important part of the dialogue. Because I believe that you let everybody have a voice and the best ideas will win. I don't believe in censoring anything, whether I agree with it or not. And I also believe that there is such a thing as suffrage and there is systemic inequality. And that it's not wrong to look at wokeism as a perspective on what needs to be righted in this society. The question is, how do you do it? See, and I think that the Democrats have been part of a dynamic of taking people's slices of a pie to give to other people. And I believe that the solution is create more pie. Be in the business of making bigger pies, not taking pieces of people's slices and giving it to other people. You understand what I'm saying? This is a fundamental space for Democrats and Republicans. Who can make more pie? Who is solution-oriented? Who is in the business of making things better, not just being in the blame game? And I don't think that it's just trite. Don't be in the blame game. Don't be about the negative. Be about the positive. I'm not playing that bullshit game of style. I'm talking about substance. Who's going to be in the business of better? I'm going to make more pie. I'm not going to take from you. I know you're working your ass off to get everything you have. I'm not going to take from you to give to a different group that you may or may not think is worthy. of what is being taken from you. Well, you should have never had it in the first place. We're past that. That's not working in society right now. Who's going to be about making more pie? Democrats can be. Trump got here by saying they're trying to take your slice of the pie and give it to people who don't deserve it. Now, I don't agree with that perspective, but it was very powerful. Yeah, that's because America's all prejudiced. You can say that. Everybody who voted for Trump is a bigot. You can say that. But you're going to lose again. Because people voted for Trump and didn't come out and vote for you because you're not in step with where this country is. Who, what, and how? There's a big opportunity on each of these levels. Will the Democrats take it? We'll live it out in real time. Do I want them to do it? Yes. Because I care about the Democrats? No, I hate the party system. The less control these two parties have over our process, the better we will all be. I believe in independence. That's why I sell the free agent gear. I want you to be critical thinkers. I don't want you to just have a party loyalty. They are nothing but opportunists who are in the business of acquisition and retention of power. Not your interests, their interests. You're lucky if it's derivative of their interests that you get anything done for you. Just look at what has happened again and again and again in this country. They are not doing for you. They are doing for them. And they are dividing us more than they're uniting us because that's good for them, not us. I want, to the extent that I got to be stuck with these two fucking parties, I want them to be more productive and more in step with what the majority of this country is about than just these fringe, discrete issues where they just get the point about which is worse and blow it up on social media as if that's what the whole country cared about. And there's a huge disconnect, and there's an opportunity in that. And I've talked about what the Republicans do, and now I'm talking about what the Democrats can do. I've done it with both sides. Why? Because I'm just in the business of better. And that is the proposition. Can the Democrats convince people they can make more pie instead of just taking one person's slice to give to another? What do you think? Thank you for subscribing and following here at the Chris Cuomo Project. I'm Chris Cuomo. I'll see you at News Nation, 8p and 11p every weekday night. You want to see this podcast, but not the ads? Okay. Go to Substack and subscribe. $50 a year. Or you can do it $5 a month, but that's 60. Or you can get a discount and do it $50 a year. And you get it with no ads. And you'll also get everything I'm doing personally to get myself physically and psychologically to a better place. I'm going through a program right now that I have a team helping me with, and you can learn all about it on the Substack. The videos are already coming out on it. All right? My friends, the challenges are many. Our approach to all of it has to be the same. Let's get after it.